The federal government has been shut down, and the Trump administration is launching a website to facilitate sales of prescription drugs directly to consumers at a discount called TrumpRx. Good morning. I'm Windsor Johnston from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. The government is shut down this morning. Federal agencies went dark shortly after midnight when Congress failed to pass two short-term funding bills. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are furloughed, and many public services have come to a halt. NPR's Claudia Grisales reports there's no clear path to a deal that would reopen the government.
The tightly held Republican-led Senate saw stopgap proposals from both parties fail last night, so they'll vote again to reach a required 60-vote threshold. Republicans will likely need at least 8 Democrats to vote with them, and they're hoping to build on some defections from the first round of voting. But most Democrats are voting no to get bipartisan talks to address soon-to-expire subsidies for the Affordable Care Act program that will force premiums to spike. As much of the government shuts down, some critical federal workers will stay on the job unpaid, such as airport security personnel and air traffic controllers, while programs like Social Security, Medicare, and National Security will continue. Claudia Grisales, NPR News.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that 750,000 federal workers could be furloughed during the shutdown. The Trump administration is instructing federal agencies to tell workers to blame the shutdown on Democrats. NPR's Stephen Fowler reports some ethics experts say that message may violate the law.
Federal employees across the government have been sent a message from the Office of Management and Budget. It reads in part that any lapse in government funding would be, quote, forced by congressional Democrats. Legal experts say that message and a banner on the Housing and Urban Development website that blames the, quote, radical left for the shutdown could violate ethics laws. Republicans control both chambers of Congress, but need Democratic support and the Senate to approve any government funding deal. Stephen Fowler, NPR News.
The White House is launching a website for prescription drugs called TrumpRx. NPR's Cindy Lupkin reports the site would facilitate sales directly to consumers at a discount.
President Trump announced a deal with Pfizer to sell its drugs directly to consumers. The medicines will be available through a website operated by the federal government called TrumpRx.
The United States is done subsidizing the health care of the rest of the world. It's a big thing. I can't tell you how big this is.
The announcement came as part of the president's push to get lower drug prices for Americans. He aims to bring them in line with what other developed countries pay. The deal also includes discounts for Medicaid and a pledge from Pfizer to sell new drugs at the same price in the U.S. and other developed countries. Trump says similar deals with other drug makers are in the works. Cindy Lupkin, NPR News.
The Prime Minister of Qatar says President Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza is facing challenges. NPR's Ayab Atrawi reports his comments indicate the plan, which was drafted without consulting Palestinians, is not yet a done deal.
Sheikh Mohammed al-Thani told Al Jazeera officials from Egypt and Qatar are meeting with Hamas negotiators to convey their views on Trump's plan. He says Arab states agree the priorities are ending the war and preventing displacement of Palestinians outside the territory. But he says further principles of Trump's plan require discussion. Speaking through an interpreter, he added,
and there are things that need clarification, that certainly need discussion and negotiation.
As Hamas weighs the deal, another armed group, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, says it's demanding clarification on the provisions in Trump's plan. The plan would have Hamas release all Israeli hostages at the start of a ceasefire, before Israel commits to any part of the deal. It also does not lay out a clear timeline for Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, instead linking that to disarmament. Ayab Atrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
A massive flotilla of private ships attempting to break Israel's blockade of Gaza and deliver food is approaching Israeli waters. NPR's Emily Fang reports Israel's military is preparing to detain the hundreds of people on board.
The boat's organizers say they were circled by a warship belonging to the Israeli military early Wednesday, but they vowed to press on even though Italy has withdrawn its naval escort. Meanwhile, Israel's military said this week that they'd found Hamas documents linking 2 of the flotilla's organizers to the group, and Israel has repeatedly called the flotilla a provocation. Israeli television reports the military has prepared a large ship with detention cells to hold activists who refuse to be voluntarily deported. All previous flotilla attempts have been intercepted. In 2010, Israel raided another Gaza flotilla, killing 9 of the passengers on board and leaving 10 Israeli soldiers injured. Emily Fang, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
Tesla is raising lease prices on all of its vehicles in the United States. The move comes after a $7,500 federal tax credit for electric vehicles expired. That credit helped make EVs more affordable, but new rules passed by Congress have wiped out incentives for leasing or buying many new electric models. NPR's Camila Domonoske reports sales of electric vehicles are expected to set a new record this quarter.
EV sales have been booming lately, contributing to strong auto sales overall. But there's a hangover coming. A buyer who hurried to buy an EV in September is a sale that won't happen in October or November. Matt Jones is with the auto sales site TrueCar.
You may not have necessarily grown more business. You just condense the time frame in which it happens.
Jones is a fan of gas-powered cars, but he says he can't deny that EVs are nice to drive. He thinks they will still appeal to drivers, even without a tax credit. But it'll take time for sales to stabilize after the spike and slump triggered by a deadline. Camila Domonoske, NPR News.
Starting today, Amazon is officially retiring its Prime Invitee program. Users will no longer be allowed to share free shipping benefits to people who don't live in their household. The replacement is Amazon Family, which only allows benefit sharing among people who share the same address. The change is part of the company's push to reduce benefit leakage and enforce stricter membership rules. This year's Fat Bear Week champ has been crowned, and the distinction goes to 32 Chunk. The burly brown bear weighs in at roughly 1,200 pounds and sports a distinctive scar and a jaw injury that never fully healed. The annual competition, now in its 11th year, celebrates the fattest bear at Alaska's Katmai National Park as they try to pack on the pounds for winter hibernation. I'm Windsor Johnston, NPR News in Washington.